The airport terminal went silent the moment the casket appeared. An American flag rested perfectly across the top. The polished wood reflected the harsh airport lights. People walking through the terminal slowly stopped, realizing what they were witnessing. A fallen soldier was coming home. Beside the casket walked a tall, broad-shouldered man in a dark military uniform. His posture was straight, but his eyes carried deep exhaustion. This was Captain Daniel Reeves. He had been chosen to escort the body of his best friend, Sergeant Michael Carter, back to his grieving family. The two had served together for years. Now only one of them was walking. Daniel gently placed his hand on the casket. "We're almost home, brother." His voice trembled slightly. Nearby passengers lowered their heads in respect. Some placed hands over their hearts. Others wiped tears quietly. But not everyone felt the same. An airline supervisor approached with an annoyed expression. "Excuse me," she said sharply. Daniel turned calmly. "Yes, ma'am?" he replied matter-of-factly, but tired. "You cannot escort that casket onto the passenger aircraft," she said firmly. Daniel blinked in disbelief. "I was given military clearance," he replied, confused but polite. The supervisor crossed her arms. "I don't care what clearance you have," she snapped. "This is a commercial flight. That casket goes to cargo." Daniel's jaw tightened. "That's a fallen U.S. soldier," he said quietly. "His family asked me to stay with him until he gets home." The supervisor shrugged. "Not my problem." Several passengers nearby gasped softly. Daniel slowly inhaled. For a moment, it looked like he might explode. Instead, he placed his hand back on the casket. "I'm not leaving him." The supervisor laughed under her breath. "We'll see about that." She pulled out her radio. "Security, I need assistance at gate 14. Passengers began whispering. Something very wrong was happening, and the airport was about to learn a very big lesson. Within minutes, 2 airport security officers arrived. They looked from the supervisor to the flag-covered casket, then to Captain Daniel Reeves standing beside it. "What seems to be the issue?" one officer asked, confused but professional. The supervisor pointed at Daniel. "He's refusing airline procedure," she said sharply, annoyed. Daniel spoke calmly. "I was ordered to escort Sergeant Carter home. His family requested it," controlled but emotional. The officer nodded slowly. "That sounds reasonable," he said carefully, uncertain. The supervisor interrupted. "This isn't a military aircraft," she snapped, frustrated. "Cargo rules apply." Daniel's eyes lowered toward the casket. He remembered the battlefield, smoke, gunfire, and Michael pushing him out of the way before the explosion. Daniel swallowed hard. "He saved my life," Daniel said quietly, voice cracking. Silence filled the terminal, heavy silence. A woman in the waiting area wiped tears from her face, crying softly. But the supervisor rolled her eyes. "That's tragic, but rules are rules." Cold. Daniel slowly straightened his shoulders. "I promised his mother I'd stay with him." Trembling voice. "You're asking me to break that promise." Heartbroken. The supervisor sighed loudly. "I'm asking you to step away from the casket." Impatient. Passengers began murmuring angrily. "That's disrespectful," someone whispered. Upset. "This is wrong," another said. Angry whisper. The supervisor turned toward security. "Remove him if necessary," commanding. The officers hesitated. They clearly didn't want to touch a military escort. Then something unexpected happened. The airline pilot walked into the terminal. Captain Laura Mitchell had just arrived for the flight. She stopped the moment she saw the flag-covered casket. Her expression changed instantly. She removed her pilot hat and placed it against her chest. Somber respect. "What's happening here?" she asked quietly, serious tone. The supervisor quickly explained. "He's refusing to follow cargo protocol." Annoyed. Captain Mitchell looked at Daniel. Is that true? Calm but concerned. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, ma'am. Tired. I'm escorting my friend home. Emotional. Captain Mitchell walked closer to the casket. Her fingers lightly touched the folded edge of the flag. Her eyes softened. Then she turned to the supervisor. You tried to stop him? She asked slowly, controlled disbelief. Yes, the supervisor replied. Captain Mitchell stared at her in stunned silence, and then her voice dropped. That was a mistake, cold and firm. Captain Mitchell turned to the security officers. Stand down. Authoritative command. The officers immediately stepped back. The supervisor looked shocked. You can't override airline policy, she protested, angry. Captain Mitchell's eyes hardened. Yes, I can. Calm but powerful. She pointed toward the casket. That man died serving his country. Firm respect. And this officer promised to bring him home. Serious. Passengers around them began quietly clapping. Emotional support. The supervisor's face turned red. But the cargo? Captain Mitchell cut her off. No. Sharp. Her voice echoed through the terminal. That casket will be loaded with honor, commanding, and Captain Daniel Reeves will remain with it, confident and strong. Daniel looked stunned. You'd do that? He asked softly, surprised. Captain Mitchell nodded. My father was military, quietly emotional. I know what this means. Respectful. She then turned toward the passengers. This flight will be delayed for 10 minutes. Professional. Anyone who wishes to remain seated while we honor this soldier may do so. Sincere. No one moved. Not a single passenger stood. Instead, the entire terminal rose to their feet. A wave of silence spread across the airport. Deep respect. Some people saluted. Others placed their hands over their hearts. Daniel felt tears burning in his eyes. Fighting tears. He placed his hand gently on the casket again. We made it, brother. Softly crying. Airport staff slowly carried the casket toward the aircraft. But this time it wasn't rushed. It was slow, careful, respectful, and Captain Daniel Reeves walked beside it every step of the way. Passengers stood silently as the procession passed. Even the security officers saluted. Somber respect. The supervisor stood frozen, realizing the mistake she had made. Regret. Moments later, the aircraft door closed. Inside the cabin, passengers sat quietly. No one spoke. The pilot's voice came over the speaker. Today we carry a hero home, emotional but strong, and we remember that honor matters. Proud. High above the clouds, a soldier finally began his journey home, and everyone on that plane understood something important. Respect is not just a rule, it is a responsibility, and some promises are too sacred to break.